being disciplined with something and doing something that's hard, like every single session is going to be hard. Even if you're the best guy in the room, you're going to get pushed, you're going to be tired.
I think the best version of yourself is reflected out in your business.
Yeah.
So as you're continuing to grow and lead and guide and everything, it's just going to be something that people see and they're going to be attracted to and want to be a part of it.
None of us can predict the future. None of us know exactly how it's going to materialize. And I think that's part of the struggle of being a business owner.
Welcome back, everybody. I am Josh Taylor, live from Springfield, USA. Today, I am your host, and we're going to be interviewing Quinton Howard, owner of Fifth Shield Grappling Club. So, Quinn, welcome. Glad you're here, brother.
Yeah, thanks, dude. I'm stoked to be here. I'm excited to spend some time with you and just chat about whatever. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Quinn, where are you from?
I'm from Springfield.
You're from Springfield. Awesome. Born and raised here?
Yeah, yes, sir. Yep. Okay. Born and raised in Springfield. Now we've moved out to Fairborn, but yeah, we're still in the area. My mom's here. My family's here. This is where we're at. So.
Okay. Is this where you met Kaitlynn?
I met Kaitlynn at a restaurant in Fairborn. Shout out TJ Chumps. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've heard of it. Haven't been there.
Yeah, that was fun times. We were both young. Everything that she does is 100%. Like, I could not do what I'm doing, at all without her. So yeah, it's
awesome.
It's very important for me, and a huge part of my journey is having her to help support what it is that we're doing, on top of being there as well. Like, she teaches the little kids at the gym. She's there every time teaching and training as well, and pushing everyone at the gym, competing, leading from the front. So she's just as much a part of the gym as me, and everything I have is hers too. So
and you have 2 young children?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
A 1-year-old boy and a 3-year-old boy. Yeah.
And they also are like looking forward to getting into the Fifth Shield.
For sure. They're grappling all the time. They're scrapping in the front yard, and my baby, he's all bumped and bruised up 24/7, scrapes everywhere because his big brother just can't help himself.
He's like, I got to try all these moves on him.
Yeah,
I got to get it out of me.
For sure.
That's funny.
Yeah.
I've got 2 daughters myself. They're one's about to be 18, the other one will be 20 in January. So,
oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's fun times.
Yeah, that'll be cool. I feel like I'm just getting started with the kids. So
I don't want to say it gets easier, and I want to say it gets harder, but you find that middle line.
Yeah.
What did you do before the gym?
Yeah, so before I had the gym, I worked as a baker for a farm down there in Carlisle, Ohio.
Okay.
And for me, that was like the golden opportunity. That's what I always wanted, was something like that, where I could work for a local farm, doing something I felt like I had a real impact. And being there, it was a great time for me. But I think that's when I kind of felt that being an employee for me is not sustainable. Like, I'm never going to feel as fulfilled as I know I could being an employee. So that's kind of when I had that wonderful opportunity, and then it kind of materialized as something like, man, this isn't what I thought it was. That is kind of what pushed me to make the leap into having my own business. And one of my good friends who has a gym, Dan Zimmerman, he has a gym in Dayton as well, Iron Wolf Grappling Club. He told me it's going to be stressful, but at least you're stressing over your own problems now. As opposed to when you're an employee, you're stressed out at work, you're stressed out about someone else's problem. They're watering their own seed, to take care of their own family, and they're building their dream. So now, when it's stressful, I remember that and think, at least I'm watering my own seed, at least I'm building my own thing here, where, I got all the responsibility, but that comes with all the power as well and all the benefits. So,
yeah. And then setting that groundwork for your boys to see, as they develop and as they age and they become young men, and they're going to see what dad did and what's possible, and they can, I feel like it's just going to open up a lot of doors for them. Yeah,
so 100%.
Good job for that.
I appreciate it. Yeah, I think it's really important, like from where my mom started to where I started, she covered a ton of ground, and it kind of allowed me to reach a certain height. And I want to do that for my boys too. I want to cover a bunch of ground compared to where I started, to where they can start off, with a big head start in life, of kind of seeing like when I was younger, there was no idea of being a business owner. My mom worked at Wendy's, KFC, and McDonald's at the same time. And so, being a business owner is not something that like I grew up around at all. Yeah. But, you know, through just kind of developing and, you know, becoming a man and having a family and kind of seeing all the implications of what all that means, I'm like, man, you know, like if I really want to be responsible for these kids and this woman, you know, I need my own business, you know? So yeah, that kind of jump started my head of, okay, now what businesses, you know, what business ideas can we hit on? You know, oh yeah, that's right. I've been like obsessed over this thing for 8 years. I could probably make a business out of that.
Yeah. You're like, wait a minute, it's been in front of me this whole time. What?
Yeah. But it's all perfect timing, you know, and that last job I had being a baker, a big part of my training was they were pushing me toward understanding my department as a business owner. So like really they gave me a ton of resources that kind of helped me understand like ideas like I need to be working on the business, not just working in the business. I need to be actually problem solving what's going on within this department as opposed to just like putting my head down and getting the orders filled. Things like that. And I'm like, wait, like I think I can do this. Like, I think I'm capable of doing this too. So yeah, now we're doing it. Yeah. We're in the fire for sure.
I kind of I didn't have a somewhat similar transition. I was working for an employer and then, this was back in 21. It was back in 2020 when COVID started shutting things down.
Yeah.
And, I started working a weekend shift. I was doing a supervisor position. And then when COVID shut things down, I had more free time. So I started just detailing cars. Just not even charging. I was just doing it because I was bored.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, I've got to have something to do. So I started doing that. A year later, I walk away from that job because I'm like, I can support myself through doing this.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of things that I should have learned before I did it, but I was like, sink or swim is what I did.
Yeah, that's right.
And I'm still going. So not in the same business, completely different business, but
yeah, that's kind of we'll talk more about this later, but kind of the constraints-led approach to business. So you just kind of get in there, get in the fire, and kind of learn on the fly and creatively problem solve your way to like the best version of your business. So
I think the best version of yourself is reflected out in your business. So as you're continuing to grow and lead and guide and everything, it's just going to be something that people see and they're going to be attracted to and want to be a part of it.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely, you know, I feel that like some days I come in and I'm like, man, I'm tired. I'm exhausted. Like, I don't really want to be like, Kate, can you take the big kids class today? Something like that, you know, and the energy is low and everyone there feels that, you know, they feel it. So I'm like, man, I got to turn this around. What do we got to do? Do we got to play some dodgeball? Do we got to get some tunes going? What do we got to do? So yeah, you know, like I agree that whatever you're bringing to the table in terms of yourself, you know, it is absolutely reflected back to you, you know, and if I'm in there and I'm turned up and I'm ready to scrap, you know, the guys feel that too. And it resonates in the room and then we turn the music up and we get after it, you know, I agree. It reflects back to you when you bring yourself to the business, it reflects back to you. So it's always kind of in my head of, I need to be my best today, you know?
So how did you end up here at the Commerce Building in the basement?
Yeah. So, I mean, this was one of those stories that like, you know, when you're starting up your own business, there's always kind of these points of like, man, how did that like materialize? That's something you can't put how I ended up in the basement here. That's not something you could put in your business plan. Let me tell you. And I obsessed over like the business plan, the financial projections for months and months and months and stuff like that. But yeah, sometimes when you're working hard, you're praying, you're moving your feet, you get random blessings. And that was part of how I got here at Commerce Point. So, you know, when I'm looking for places to go in Springfield, you know, having a really hard time, you know, it's hard to get these commercial agents to have a conversation with you unless you can say, hey, check out this bank account with 6 figures in it. I'm ready, you know? If you're not in that boat, it's really hard to get those types of conversations to happen. So I started to look around for honestly like subleasing type opportunities, calling gymnastics places and taekwondo places and seeing if maybe the schedules could work out. And I talked to Corey. He owns a gymnastics building. I wish I knew the name so I could shout it out, but he owns a gymnastics place for kids next door. And I was chatting with him about maybe a subleasing thing, and it didn't work out because of schedules, but he said, hey, check this guy out. He owns this building and maybe he has something else, some other opportunity. I was like, all right, I'll give him a call. So gave him a call. met up with him. You know, his daughters graduated from Catholic Central a couple years after me.
Okay.
He kind of showed me around a couple different buildings. We chatted for a couple hours, you know. Honestly, you know, we hit it off, you know, like he's a resource for me now. You know, if I have questions and I give him a call, and he's always there for me on the business tip, as well as, you know, he's not just a landlord, you know, he's a cool guy. So he took me around, and then he took me over here, across the hall in the basement here at Commerce, and it was essentially a storage unit. You know, as he's opening the door, he's like, this could be it, but, you know, it would take a lot of work, take a lot of vision. And he opened the door, and I walked in. I said, this is it. This is it. We're doing this here. I see it completely. I see the vision. And there was some work that needed to be done. But yeah, we got in there and knocked it out. And really, that was a perfect situation. You know, when you're like low man on the totem pole and you don't have that 6 figures in your account, you know, it's a lot of elbow grease, a lot of you getting in there and doing stuff yourself. So yeah, we worked hard on kind of getting that space revamped and getting it prepped to be a gym, like transitioning from a storage unit to a gym. And it took efforts from, you know, us and the building owners to make it happen. And yeah, so it was a long journey, but, you know, I would not change it at all. I love the space so much. It's a great gym vibe in there. And yeah, it's a cool location. You know, people come to the gym. They're like, are you sure there's a gym here? Like, there's just like CPAs and lawyers and everything here. Like, where do I go? And then we go in the basement, and there's this big wide open space, big mat space.
I want to walk over there when we're done and check it out.
Yeah, for sure. I'd be happy to show you.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love that you didn't get stuck on the how. You know, how is this going to happen?
Right.
That's one of the things one of my coaches said. He's like, don't worry about the how. Don't worry about the how. Just move.
Yes.
And things, just even in my businesses that I've had, and just as a man, like the trying to always figure it out. Sometimes just start moving.
Yep.
Movement will unfold. For
sure. Yeah. I mean, none of us can predict the future. None of us know exactly how it's going to materialize. And I think that's part of the struggle of being a business owner, you know, is like, you don't always know. It's not always certain, but yeah, like that's part of that, you know, power responsibility continuum.
Yep.
You know, like you have all the responsibility no matter what comes up, no matter what problems arise. Like, you're the backstop, you're the last line of defense to solving that issue. So yeah, I mean, I had no idea how. You know, all I knew was, okay, here's a lead, this could be possible. Like, all right, let me call around and just see what happens. Yeah, and then just things like I said, praying and moving your feet, you know. And the way I like to say it is, for every one step I take in a righteous direction, God takes 10. So,
man, that's good.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like it's just being proven to me all the time, you know. So that's why I really just have faith, and I just work as hard as I can, and do the right thing as much as I can. So yeah, ended up down here is a crazy blessing. You know, that space wasn't listed anywhere on any commercial sites. It wasn't even being rented out. You know, it was just a storage room, and I had to make that call to that guy who referred me to another guy, you know, without having any idea that it would take me there. So yeah, that's part of the story that reassures me that I'm doing the right thing.
Yeah.
To me, stuff like that doesn't happen unless it's supposed to.
Yeah, so it's like, it doesn't make sense on how this happened, but it happened, and and it's like that's okay.
Yep. And it's perfect. It's perfect.
It really and it makes sense. After having this conversation with you, I'm like, it makes complete sense.
Yep. Yeah.
So
for sure.
Yeah. Congratulations on getting it going and developing your own thing, and I love that for you.
Thanks so much. I mean, it was really chipping away, like literally working on it for a year before I even had anything to show anyone. You know, it's just kind of trying to work on the front end and figure some of these things out, without any certainty, you know, without getting paid for it, like without any of the benefit. It's just like a very delayed gratification that now I get to reap. You know, every time I come into the gym, and we just look around, like me and my wife were like, this is crazy. Like, this is crazy. We have our own gym. Like, this is awesome. So now we're living in it, and it's just a matter of keeping that going, and keep walking the walk, you know, and slowly growing the business over time, winning the war of attrition, and just chipping away. Yeah,
absolutely. And you're underneath, you guys are growing internally, like just as you help lead other people, like it's growing you guys.
Yeah.
You know, as a couple, as individuals.
Yeah.
And that's a beautiful thing.
Yep, absolutely. You know, anytime you're kind of at the front of the room and, you know, you have people looking at you or people looking to you or even just people relying on you as, you know, like, this is where I train. Like, these guys got to keep this business going, so I got somewhere to train.
Yeah.
You know, it's good. It's more fuel in the fire to keep me going, you know. On the training aspect too, like, these guys are working hard. Like, they want it. They want to come sub old dad. They want to come submit me. So I got to keep grinding too, so that I can keep my level up and keep getting better as well, lead from the front.
So I understand this is an art. Mm-hmm. What is grappling? What is jiu-jitsu?
Yeah, so I guess I'll kind of speak about it generally first, and then kind of like dial in more on like kind of our niche and kind of our the way we like to grapple, because there's kind of different sects within the grappling world, right? So in general, jiu-jitsu is kind of the art of controlling someone as it leads to submission. All right, so putting someone in a position where I have more of my body, more of my total leverage on less of their body, less of their total leverage, and making them submit. So like all the stuff we see in like MMA or UFC of like chokes and arm bars and leg locks and holding someone down and advancing position, that's all jiu-jitsu. It's grappling. So there's no striking. It's just like holding someone down, controlling them, and leading it to submission. Okay. Now, and in our specific brand of grappling, we like to do no-gi. So we come in, you know, we're wearing just like a shirt and shorts, and it allows for a lot of dynamicism within the rounds. It's a little bit closer related to things like wrestling and MMA, whereas the gi jiu-jitsu is kind of an art in itself. You know, it changes the game a lot. It's a lot more control based, a lot more static in general. Yeah. At the risk of offending some gi people there, but it's all good. I trained in the gi for 3 years straight, so I could say it. But we like to do the no-gi, and you know, one big benefit there is, you know, it makes it more attainable. You know, like if you want to bring your kid into a no-gi class, you just, whatever they got on, bring them in. Like they could be wearing jeans, I don't care. They'll hop on the mat and they'll get to training. You know, we don't have to kind of, you know, sell you some $200 sign up package where you got to put them in a gi and get them a belt and all that stuff. You know, it's kind of lowers the barrier of entry as well, especially on the kid side, you know? Yeah,
absolutely. I think it's also just kind of like the life thing. This is what you're wearing when you're out in public, and if you have to use this, you know, to defend yourself.
For sure. And this is a classic back and forth between gi and no-gi guys, where, you know, the gi guys will say, "What are you doing fighting some sweaty guy at the beach?" And then the no-gi guys will say, "What are you doing fighting someone in 0-degree weather outside in a coat?" And I mean, who knows, you know, it's whatever. I think, you know, dealing with some sort of real life street fight situation, who knows what it'll be like. You know, in general, you should probably just like definitely run and not deal with any of that. Because I tell you what, there's some things that work a lot better than gi and no gi out there in the street. So you got to be really, really careful.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
But yeah, so we had the gym here. We've been open for about 4 months. Kind of when you start training jiu-jitsu, I'm sure like everyone has the dream of one day having a gym or one day being able to train every day or whatever it may be. But like, I was one of those people, you know, as time went on, you know, and I started to go through the ranks and train year by year, I'm thinking, you know, I just would love to make this more of my life, especially once I have a family and, you know, it's my responsibility to obviously provide for them and stuff too. The jiu-jitsu and the hobbies can kind of take a back seat. So, you know, taking care of them, working full time, only being able to train 2, 3, 4 times a week, you know, it was hard on us, hard on me and my wife both. So we worked really hard. We spent a lot of time, kind of preemptively getting things set up, all the business stuff on the front end, to be able to open a gym. And, you know, now we're able to kind of live the lifestyle that we dreamed of together, you know, where we're in the gym every day, training every day, multiple times a day. Our kids are growing up in the gym. You know, it's just, it really is a blessing. You know, it's what we've worked hard for, you know, through all these years of training. Yeah.
That's awesome, man. That is awesome. When did you begin jiu-jitsu training? Like what kind of conspired? Where did that come from?
I started in 2018.
Okay.
You know, I always struggled with being overweight as a kid and, you know, young adulthood, everything like that. Yeah. And I had started a kind of weight loss journey that was going good, but, you know, being as big as I was, my traditional methods of losing weight, like running, really did a number on my knees, and it was beating my knees up to the point where I couldn't run anymore. So I started looking at different things, different ideas, and like a ton of people from that era, you know, found the Rogan pod, and, you know, he's talking about jiu-jitsu on like every episode. So it took me about a month of listening to jiu-jitsu, watching jiu-jitsu content and stuff to gain the courage to finally go into a gym. So yeah, I started in 2018, and my very first training session, there was a girl named Brianna, and shout out to her if she ever hears this, because she was really important for my jiu-jitsu journey. But we were rolling, we rolled live, like just live sparring, and she hit me with the same choke like 3 times. And, you know, I'm this big guy, I'm trying to lose weight, and she's just this girl, and she choked me out 3 times. And then I came back the next day and found out that she was in high school. So that, then I was really like, okay, like if I can learn the things that she knows, like I could be effective, you know. And like right in that moment, I knew like I was hooked. And then literally from then until now, like jiu-jitsu has been like my priority, like my thing that I do all the time, like training as much as I possibly can. And if I can't train, I'm like studying more than I'm training. And it's just, it's always been like, ever since I started in 2018, it's been like what I do, what I think about, what I study, what I'm working on, you know, that type of thing. So
yeah, I think that's says something of your character. The fact that was, you know, a humbling experience that you went back to and continue.
Yeah.
You know, just because you found some passion in it. That's awesome.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, some guys, they come in and they have that reaction. And some guys, they come in, they have the opposite reaction, where something like that, like it hurts and they don't want to feel that hurt, you know. But to me, I just could see the upside, you know. And also, like, I died in that first training session. It was like completely physically overwhelming, like cooked me bad. And that was what I was looking for. I was looking for an opportunity to, you know, get physically fit and overcome that sort of challenge that I had always had in my life, in a new, unique way. And it proved to be really effective, you know. Like now, me and my buddy, we were just joking about this yesterday. Now, like, I do jiu-jitsu because I love the game. Like, I love training, I love the chess match, whatever. I love the technical side and getting better and improving. And as a symptom of doing that, we're fit. Like, we lose weight. We're always training. We're completely drenched in sweat at the end of every session, you know, hard scraps every day. And that is what I was searching for, without it being just kind of like it's not all discipline. You know, I love being there. Like when I lift, you know,
matters.
We lift and it's like, man, this is not fun. Like, we're just grinding here. This is not fun. But jiu-jitsu it's a blast. Like, I'd be doing it even if it didn't help me physically, because I'm just obsessed with the game part of it. So yeah.
When did you realize that there was like an obsession with it? Like, what was there, like a turning point or anything like that? Or
I think pretty much like right away, I was training every single session. Like right away, I was training as many times as I possibly could. You know, I think I did, you know, right around purple belt, or like 3-ish years in, I kind of hit this point where, like, I had been around the gym and the coaches that I was around long enough to where I had kind of gotten their takes. Like, I had seen the moves that they like to show. I had gotten their style. And then so I was at a point where I'm like, now I need to take my development sort of onboard it myself rather than just showing up to class and just doing what the coach says. You know, now I can start to study, I can start to venture out, I can start to cross train or learn from pro athletes, you know, things like that. And that was a big, you know, sort of transition from it just being kind of like recreational. I show up to practice, I do what the coach says, I get better in the way that he tells me, to like now I'm zoomed out viewing my own game from above, and I'm like, okay, I need this, this, and this. You know, I'm watching my matches, I'm watching my rounds and saying, okay, I lost here and here, this look is giving me problems. And like that's what I love the most. That's what's the most fun about being a coach now, is I can do that same thing but for all my guys, not just myself.
When you say this look, what do you mean by that?
I mean like a specific sort of look that I can get from someone else that is giving me issues. So for me personally, you know, I played golf growing up.
Okay.
And a lot of jiu-jitsu guys wrestled growing up. So when I get a big wrestler that comes in to train with me, he gives me all I can handle. He gives me problems. You know, they're really good. They have really good base. They're really good on top. I have to play off of my back because I can't take them down because they're better than me at wrestling. So that's what I mean by specific look. Like, okay, you know, maybe the heavy top pressure, strong athlete on top is a different look than like some other jiu-jitsu nerd like me who's gonna, you know, play leg locks and, you know, kind of be on the technical side. Yeah. You know, that's one specific thing for me that I've had to develop over time. So yeah.
Okay. I've heard you have a specific leg lock that you obsess over. Is there one particular that you have that you use the most, or but I'm not going to give away my secrets. I complain.
No, there are no secrets, man. Everything's on the table. Like there's a guy, Gordon Ryan. He's the best there is, and you know he has 50 DVDs where he's teaching all his stuff. So if he doesn't have any secrets, neither do I. I'm happy to share.
That's fair.
So I think this is a little bit jiu-jitsu nuance in terms of the best, and then I'll kind of zoom out and talk about it from like sort of a meta perspective. But in my opinion, I prefer the straight ankle lock. The jiu-jitsu guys know what I'm talking about, but reason being is it's low risk. I don't have to let go of my control to attack for higher breaking capacity like the other leg locks. The jiu-jitsu guys know what's up. But in terms of a meta sort of zoomed out view, when it comes to a particular submission or a particular move set, you know, no move works in isolation. No leg lock works by itself. You know, my opponent can always choose to just take something completely away. So everything that we're doing, every submission we're looking at, every sweep we're looking at, every off balance even has to work sort of in what I call a multi-directional dilemma, you know, up, down, left, right, front, back. So if I go for an outside heel hook and they put the boot on and kick their foot through, now they're giving me the look I need for a straight ankle lock. And it works vice versa. If I go for a straight ankle lock and they turn their foot down, then I got my look for the outside heel hook. And it's kind of like a dilemma-based situation. So really to say I have a favorite sub, a favorite submission, favorite leg lock is kind of like it's losing the essence of what should be done in those situations. You know, we always got to be taking a little bit to give a little bit, setting traps, you know, like I said, moving up, down, left, right, front, back.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Okay. So you became, and if you already answered this, I apologize. You became a coach. What led you to that? I want to do this to guide others to the same thing that the stuff that I've learned. Yeah. It's just become a part of who you are now, and other people are benefiting from that and learning from you. Yeah. That was, I believe, in 22. Is that correct?
Yes, that's when I kind of started coaching. And that would have been at my coach Ruben, his gym, Queen City. So I kind of started, he gave me some classes. Before that, I would kind of fill in when the guys would be out of town, stuff like that.
Where's this gym at?
That is in Springboro. They just moved. It's in Springboro now. They have a new location. It's really nice. But yeah, I started to teach a little bit there. I had a couple classes, and you know, it was really, really helpful for me to kind of develop my own coaching style. And the way I started running classes versus the way I run them now is like almost completely opposite. So I'm super, super grateful for Ruben to kind of give me that opportunity to develop that before I open my own spot, to where now that I have my own gym, I at least have, you know, a plan. I have some experience. You know, I'm still new in the game. You know, I'm only a brown belt. So I'm new in the game, you know, and I'll gain more experience over time, and I'll get better and better and better. But, you know, I'm really grateful that I didn't have to start from nothing, where I'm figuring all this stuff out.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, you know, now I have like a pretty coherent plan of how I think people can learn the fastest while having the most fun, while being the most efficient.
Yeah, rather than having like a step, you know, 1 through 10, you have like just, we're just going to go in and we're going to learn as you go type of thing. Is that?
Yeah. So like this is something that gets talked about a ton, is like curriculums, you know, and I would say 99% of gyms and coaches, you know, they have that. You know, everyone I know has a curriculum. But for me specifically, I play it a little bit more dynamic. Yeah. I play it a little bit more based on who's in the room, what those guys specifically need, and how I can help them get as effective as possible, as quick as possible. You know, this is something I always say in the room, is the best way to get good at jiu-jitsu is to train for a long time. The best way to train for a long time is to have fun. And the best way to have fun is to mess people up. That's what everyone wants to do. Yeah. So like when these wrestler guys come in, you know, I don't tell them we're going to spend 6 months and you're going to play only off your back. You need to learn jiu-jitsu. You need to learn how to submit people from your back, because this is jiu-jitsu class. I don't do none of that. I say, look, bro, you already got these XYZ skill sets. We're going to funnel we're going to funnel not only the training, but the rounds and the matches into these skill sets that you're already good at.
That's awesome.
That way we don't have to you don't have to go through this big phase of like basically being bad and getting beat up. You know, like obviously as these guys develop in their journey, when they start to look at, you know, Q, I want to be a purple belt. Q, I want to be a brown belt. Q, I want to be good at leg locks. These things, like we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But for now, like to have fun, like, dude, wrestling, like, they earn that. Like they earn that. That's a lot of mat time, and it's super valid, super valuable. They earn the right to come in here and smash some guy who's been training for 4 months and they trained for 10 years, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, we keep their effectivity as high as possible, as quick as possible, and we'll round out the edges, you know, when that time comes, you know? But yeah, we try to keep it fun for everyone, and fun is like I said, messing people up and winning.
Yeah. Well, and there's leadership aspects to what you just said. You're like, I don't want you to not do this. I just want to take the skills you already have and utilize them, you know, for your benefit and your training and everything. So acknowledging that when people you're just using their skills that are already developed and just kind of helping, you know, fine tune. Yeah. I think that's excellent.
For sure. It's always about it's always about helping someone meet their goals rather than trying to tell someone what their goals are.
Yeah.
You know? And that's a problem that we kind of see happen. You know, if you want to come in and your goal is to just be as good as possible, as quick as possible, then we can do that. If your goal is to come in and, you know, I've got plenty of wrestlers that say, well, you know, I'm not the best wrestler even in this room, so I want to learn how to play guard. All right, sweet. We'll do that, man. We'll learn how to play off our back. If you come to my gym and you say, Q, I want to be a world champ, I got something for you, bro. Let's do it. If you come into my gym and you're a 65-year-old grandma and you're like, I just really want to come check it out and try it and be safe and have fun and train twice a week, we got something for you too. You know, the goal is to help people meet their goals, not to tell people what their goal should be, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I have a note here. It's the constraint-led approach. Is that kind of what we're talking about a little bit?
Yeah. So, sort of, you know, and this is a bit of a what would you say, spicy topic in the jiu-jitsu world, with the constraints-led approach. This is how I personally teach. You know, I'm not the only coach at the gym too, so this isn't all the classes, but this is all my classes are. We use something called the constraints-led approach, and essentially what that consists of is, in a traditional class, you would come in. It might start with a warm-up, you know, just like some basic push-ups, you know, run up and down the mat, I don't know, skip up and down the mat, I don't know what they do, warm-ups. And then they go into a technical piece where they say, all right, guys, today we're going to do a triangle from closed guard. And for a triangle from closed guard, you grab the hand here, you put the foot here, you shoot like this, you lock that, you got to get to this angle. You got to make sure you get to this angle. If you're not doing this, you're not doing it right. That type of thing. Yeah. Then they break up into partners and they drill it with a non-resisting opponent where one of the guys is drilling and the other one is just kind of sitting there like a grappling dummy, letting them do whatever they want. And then after that, you might do some situational rounds. So if we're going with our closed guard triangle idea, you might start in a closed guard. And then after that, you might do live rounds. That's a traditional class.
Okay.
Now in my class, we don't do any drilling. Nothing is lifeless. Everything is alive, and there's no real technical part is either in the actual hour of training. So we play a series of games where both people are working in a live context, where we don't remove that live aspect of doing jiu-jitsu. To me, doing jiu-jitsu is doing jiu-jitsu. Like watching some guy talk is not doing jiu-jitsu. Drilling on a lifeless opponent is not doing jiu-jitsu. It's that live aspect that we don't take out. And it's up to me as a coach to constrain the rounds enough that the people are learning what is effective in these situations. That's where the constraints-led approach comes in. That's my job. So I don't just say, all right, we're going to start from standing and your job is to take each other down. Ready, go. That's too big. That's too much, especially for someone who's brand new. There's too much stimulus for them to be able to decipher anything.
Right.
But instead of starting so big, I might just start small and I say, okay, guys, for 6 minutes, we're both standing. Your job is simply to have more hands on your partner than they have on you. So as your partner goes to touch you, you want to clear that grip off you. You want to make it yours now. So now that I have more hands on you than you have on me, my second goal is inside head position. I just want my forehead to be pointing at their center line and their forehead to be pointing away from mine. And I'm showing all this, so it's a little easier for a new person to understand and stuff. But simple goals like that, and then we will build them over time without ever having to remove that live element. Because a big issue that people have, right? So like I said, Gordon Ryan, all his techniques are out there. So if it worked that way, the drilling way, we should just be able to watch a Gordon Ryan DVD and then just be as good as him.
Yeah.
That'd be nice, right?
Yeah.
But it doesn't work that way. There's a bridge that has to be crossed from having knowledge about, a triangle from closed guard to having knowledge of no, I do this triangle from closed guard all the time against resisting people. There's a bridge that has to be crossed. So to me, in my studies, in my experience, using the constraints-led approach is the best way to bridge that gap in an efficient way that's fun. Everyone at Jiu-Jitsu, everyone's like, man, I just want to go live. I just want to go live. It's fun. So it's fun. It's very efficient. Our classes are only 1 hour, and it keeps you moving. It keeps you moving, keeps you active, keeps you engaged. No one's falling asleep on the mats in my class.
I can imagine how the classes go just with the live that you bring, just in talking about it. I love that aspect.
Yeah.
How do people react? Like if someone comes in new, how is their reaction to, oh, we're live, we're live.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you get all kinds of stuff. You get people, if people have trained before, they come in and some of them are like, whoa, I wasn't expecting all this. Or like we've had 3 people puke from the classes, and all 3 of them have been super fit wrestlers who don't understand the pacing. So they're sprinting full speed every rep, trying to win every single thing. They don't understand that pacing aspect of the being live. And it's okay to lose a rep. It's okay to explore a little bit. It's okay to search within the environment for a solution as opposed to thinking about winning every single rep. So you get things all over the place. Some people know about the constraints-led approach and know that it's polarizing, so they might come in with a preconceived notion. But in general, when people come in, honestly, when people come in, they are like, I like this.
That would be me.
Yeah, they're like, I like this. This is live. I don't got to slow down. I don't got to try to extrapolate what you're saying. And for me, like the technical instruction piece, it kind of has some flaws. So like, if there are different body types, for example, a really tall, lanky person and a really short, wide person, they're going to have completely different games. So if I'm teaching a move that's for the long person, it's essentially a waste of time for the short, wide person.
Yeah.
So in these games, we make them constrained in a way where both people can do something that's actually effective for them. Like the tall person might have a different type of tie-up that they like to use in the standing position than the short, wide person, but both of them get to use their preferred tie-up. I'm not boxing them in based on what I want to show them that given day.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then just one more thing I'll say about the constraints-led approach, because I think this is kind of a hidden gem of it, is in the traditional method where we come in and we look at a technique and then we roll live after it, we're kind of showing a solution to a random problem, whatever problem the coach feels like showing you a solution to. It may apply to you, it may not. We're showing the solution first, and then you have the problems after, which is the live rounds. You know, you're getting all this stimulus. You might not even see that position you just worked on. You might not. Who knows? You may never think about it again because it has nothing to do with you. In my classes, we flip that order of problem solution. We start, the whole hour is problems, you know, and we have sort of some specific points of attention that kind of help guide the person in their searching for solution. But we have the whole hour of problems, and then after the hour, we'll go on for solutions based on the problems you actually experienced that day. So if you have a specific problem in one of the specific games, we can talk about ideas that you can deploy next time you're in this situation to actually solve your problem, rather than it being a random problem that I chose to solve for you that day. So I think that's another hidden benefit of the constraints-led approach, is we just flip that order of problem solution in a way that I think is more effective.
I don't know how relevant this is, but I just said this the other day. I'm like, there's no such thing as an unsolvable problem. And I just think creating ideas for solutions for people to just be able to unfold what needs to unfold.
Yep.
I think that's great. As
I
being
agree.
Part of a leader.
I agree. Yeah, I agree.
So why Springfield? What made you come here? How did you get? I say when I came in, I realized you guys were just down the hall here. Yeah. And so how did that part come about?
Yeah. So, you know, when I decided to open a gym, of course you're thinking about location just like any business. And Springfield, I felt there was an opportunity for me in my specific niche, which is kind of, you know, like the live training aspect. We train mostly no gi at my gym as well. So there's gi and there's no gi, and I felt there was opportunity in the no gi space here.
Can you explain what gi is real quick?
Sure. So gi is kind of it's a uniform that you wear and a belt that you tie, and it doesn't just look different, but that really, really, really is a constraint that's put on the game of jiu-jitsu that changes it a ton. It changes it a ton. Like, you can really slow people down when there's cloth to grab.
Yeah.
And it kind of makes it more intricate, and there's a lot of stuff you can do with the gi. There's like a million gi chokes and variations, and it's I would say it's a lot slower. There's a higher degree of pressure, a lower degree of dynamic movement. And the way that kind of ends up playing out in the long run is, you know, like wrestlers, for example, they love doing no gi because they are frustrated in the gi when someone can just grab them and stop them. Now they can't move anymore.
Right.
In the no gi, they can be more athletic. There's also a lot of leg locks that are illegal in the gi because there's so much friction in the gi. It's essentially impossible to escape some of these positions. But in the no-gi, everyone's sweaty. You can kind of escape out of stuff. So there's a lot more leg lock dynamics in the no-gi as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, you see a lot more leg locks. You see a lot more wrestlers enjoying no-gi. And then you see, generally speaking, you know, you see no-gi rounds are a little bit higher pace. No-gi training sessions are a little bit higher pace. It's more like a wrestling practice rather than like a chilled out jiu-jitsu practice where most of the time is just talking and kind of sitting around. Yeah, I'll stop there.
You're like, I want to be moving. This is live. Let's go.
For sure.
Okay. So Fifth Shield, where did that come from?
Yeah. So when we're thinking about like branding our business, it's a lot of pressure. And it was a lot of pressure for me too. And I had a whole other branding package made and created, and, you know, we basically just scrapped it and went with a different idea. And I think, you know, my problem with the first idea, which led me to why Fifth Shield, is I was putting a little bit too much stock in kind of the symbology and sort of what it meant to me, rather than trying to meet the people who would be coming to the gym where they're at in terms of what they might think of an idea or symbolism or art in general. So Fifth Shield to me is kind of a happy medium of me getting some symbology that I love mixed in with kind of just something that's cool that, you know, like hard body dudes can look at and be like, this is sick, you know, and they can resonate with right away, which was kind of the goal in the pre-brand rebrand that I had to go through. So yeah, there's some symbology in there, but in general, the idea is just make it cool so people think it's cool, make it hit, make it resonate. You know, we have the two axes, so you look across the room, you're like, all right, I know what that is. And just giving something people that they can resonate with.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And I know we talked a little bit before we started here, the kids program. I don't believe we've covered that yet.
Yeah.
What were the age ranges? How does that work?
So I have 2 separate age ranges for kids. I have a 5 to 7 and an 8 to 12. Those numbers are kind of just like arbitrary suggestions. You know, we've had some 6-year-olds that come in and they're really developed, so they're really big and they don't have fun in the little kids class. They have fun in the bigger kids class.
Yeah.
And it could go the same vice versa. You know, we also have some younger kids that, you know, they're not quite 5 yet, but they do a great job and they have fun. You know, that's the main criteria for the kids program is to have fun. So, yeah, that's sort of the age split. And we also do it in that way so that the little kids, we kind of can tell a little bit more stories. Another beautiful symptom of the constraints-led approach is it's perfect for kids. It's perfect for kids. You know, it takes me 20 seconds to deliver. This is the game we're going to play, guys. We're going to play Dragon and Castle today. And I tell them what that means and show them real quick, and they don't listen. And then we just start anyway, and we kind of help coach them through it. And then over time, they start getting better and better and better at it. But, you know, like, imagine how much of a nightmare it would be to sit there in front of a group of 5-year-olds and say, all right, guys, we're going to do a triangle from closed guard. They don't know what any of those words mean. Yeah. And then you're like, you got to put your hand here. Then you got to put your foot there. All right, try it. No, your hand's not in the right spot. No, your foot's not in the right spot. That sounds like a nightmare, you know?
Yeah.
We just play these games. We get them grappling live. We don't try to teach them a whole new language. We just say, you're the evil backpack. And you're on your friend's back and you don't want to let them get to school. Ready to go, you know? Things like that. And then we give them ideas while they're live grappling to help them solve the problem.
That's fantastic. That's awesome. Yeah. That is cool. Did you, when you started coaching, did you open it up to all ages, or did you kind of like work your way into that part? Or
yeah, so the kids program is always something that we knew we would really want to kind of hit hard.
Okay.
Again, I think it's an area that we could succeed as a business. Like I said, the constraints-led approach it's not very popular. You know, like there are some gyms around that use it sometimes, but I don't know of any other gym that's like all of our classes at this time are completely constraints-led approach. And definitely not a whole kids program. So like if you take your kids to another gym, they're going to be doing that thing where they sit them down and say, we're going to be learning an arm bar today, guys. You put your arm here, you do your leg over top, and then your kids run around in circles, and they're like, hey, your kid's not ready. They can't take this class because they can't sit down and listen to me talk for 10 minutes. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That would be everyone.
Yeah.
I don't look to try to have a 5-year-old sit down and listen to me talk. You know, I know that they are there to play. They're there to play with their friends. And to me, my goal is to make it to where the thing that they're playing with is jiu-jitsu. The thing they're playing with is grappling. That's my job, to make it engaging enough to where that's what they're there to do. So
there's, I just saw a question here that I thought was really good. Okay, so your mission statement talks about improving not just jiu-jitsu, but day-to-day lives. How do you incorporate what you're learning in jiu-jitsu, what you're teaching in jiu-jitsu with just daily life?
Yeah. So I think, like, for me, you know, I'm a jiu-jitsu coach. You know, I don't, you know, try to claim to be much more than that. Mm-hmm. You know, I think in regards to the mission statement, I think that's more of a side effect of hard training and being disciplined with coming to jiu-jitsu and being disciplined with solving problems and being intentional with things. Yeah. It's kind of the benefits you get from the practice of jiu-jitsu rather than like me sitting everyone down and saying, all right, guys, so today, you know, I'm going to go over this PowerPoint about how to not argue with your wife, something like that.
Yep.
So yeah, that's kind of more along the lines of the benefits we get from training and being disciplined with something and doing something that's hard. You know, like every single session is going to be hard. Even if you're the best guy in the room, you're going to get pushed. You're going to be tired. And yeah, overcoming those challenges on a consistent, regular basis, you know, make other challenges feel more normal. You know,
it boosts your confidence quite a bit.
Oh, for me, for sure. It was like, it was life-changing. You know, I think that's part of why I've been so obsessed with it. Like for me growing up, you know, before jiu-jitsu, I kind of was like a pushover. Like I would get bullied straight up. you know, I was an audio engineer and I had a studio in my own house. And, you know, when you're recording out of your house, everyone who comes in, they think they're the best. They want a deal. They want special treatment. They're 30 minutes late and they don't care, that type of thing. And that was really hard for me to deal with, you know, like, and it kind of sent me into kind of a hard kind of spiral of, you know, self-worth, you know, and that on top of the weight issue that I spoke about earlier kind of culminated in like, I have to do something different. I have to change. So this kind of jiu-jitsu is a perfect thing for me. It gave me the physical sort of stimulus to lose the weight and be more fit. And then it kind of gave me the mental, emotional, like fortitude to be able to handle whatever the challenge is, you know, if it's someone kind of looking to bully me or something like when I was younger, or if my son's having a hard time, or if, you know, me and my wife are having a little back and forth or something, you know, it's really helped me. I genuinely, you know, for me, it helped me develop into a man. Straight up. That for me, I'm not saying, you know, if you do jiu-jitsu, it'll blah, blah, blah. I don't know. It's a sport. But for me, jiu-jitsu taught me how to be a man, straight up.
I love that.
So, yeah.
That's great. Don't have too many more questions here. What's the future goal 5 years from now? You know, are you planning on staying here? Are you looking to grow and expand elsewhere?
Yeah.
What's the goal there?
So I think, you know, moving forward, the goal is there's kind of like business goals and then like training goals, right? So for me, like business wise, I just want to have a successful, sustainable business that we can be proud of, that we can kind of, you know, feed our families and take care of ourselves while providing something that is genuinely valuable for people. You know, that's the whole goal. To have a successful business, you have to provide real value. And that's what we're trying to do. Build it to where it's sustainable and effective and efficient and big, you know. And then for me personally, you know, this gym is just the first step in my business career. You know, I'll have more businesses. I'll be building and growing. You know, of course, I'll always be training.
Yeah.
But the first step in me having a business career is making this business successful. You know, and I think that's growing my own ability as a business owner. You know, right now working really hard on understanding marketing and pushing marketing and developing our social media and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, business wise, we just want to be successful and sustainable as a business. I think like training wise and my own development wise, you know, I want to be really good. I don't want to be good for Springfield or good for the Dayton area. I want to be really good. Yeah. I want to be able to train. I train all the time. I train every day. I train multiple times a day. I should be good. So yeah, I have a high standard for my own development, and I'm really just getting started.
That is awesome. I love that. And like I said, just sitting here talking with you, I could feel it. Like,
yeah,
I'm like, sounds like I gotta go over there. So
yeah,
I probably will be checking it out.
Yeah, for sure, man.
Okay. If someone in Springfield is on the fence about trying grappling, what would you say to them?
I would say there's no barrier of entry. Come check it out. You know, we got a free week trial. It can't hurt to come in and check it out. You know, even if you feel like if you feel nervous about training, like just come check it out, come watch, come meet us, you know, come hang out, you know, all that stuff. Like we're always chilling. We're always kind of in the gym, just having fun. We'll hook you up with a nice coffee, you know, whatever you need. But yeah, just come check it out. There's no barrier of entry, free week trial. Come experience it. Come experience the room. Come see what it's like to be around people who are on the path, on this jiu-jitsu path. You know, I personally think that everyone could get something from jiu-jitsu. So, you know, nothing could hurt with coming and check it out, come try it out. Okay. Yeah, and definitely like just come hang, you know, no pressure to come in and scrap, you know, 100%, try to kill someone first day, you know, no pressure like that. We have tons of brand new beginners. And yeah, we love everyone that comes to the gym. So yeah, come visit.
Excellent. How can people find you?
Yeah, so I think the main things is just Fifth Shield Grappling Club on Instagram, Facebook, website, all that stuff. the number's posted everywhere. Give me a call, give me a text, reach out. I'm happy to talk with people. I'm happy to answer any questions too. Like, even if, you know, if you're on the fence about it or worried about something, hit me up, ask me questions. You know, I'd be stoked to kind of help you on that journey. Like I said, for me, from the time I knew I wanted to train to my first day walking in the gym, it was like a month of anxiety. So like, I understand that piece of the journey and that piece of the struggle, and it would be a good pleasure of mine to help someone bridge the gap from like that first thought of wanting to try it to like dealing with the anxiety of getting in and then like giving it a shot. So
yeah, absolutely. That's awesome. Quinn, that's all I have, man. Do you have anything else for us or anything that you want to leave?
Yeah.
You know?
So I really appreciate coming down and do this, have this conversation and everything. I think we're really cooking up something nice down here in the basement at Commerce.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're all here, all neighbors, just kind of getting after it, getting to work, building a nice little community. So yeah, it's really cool for me to be able to come down and have this opportunity to chat with you, bro. So
it's been awesome having you.
Yeah,
it's been a pleasure, seriously.
Yeah, appreciate you.
All right, well, that's the end of this episode, guys. Thank you so much for coming. Quinn, it was a pleasure having you here. Thank you so much. Everybody have a fantastic day.